Sharp Game here, coming at you from chooseyourrelationships.com. And the other day, I got somebody left a comment below one of my videos, and they wanted me to talk about the South versus the North mentality. Because, you know, there's this thing where it's like a lot of people kind of think, a lot of people up north especially think people from the South are kind of slow, not intelligent, they kind of behind time, and it's hypnotic. People kind of don't respect people that's from down south. It's like if you're from down south, somehow you're lame. Somehow you're not up to par versus people that live up north. And this has been going on since I was a kid. Cause I have family and cousins that live up north, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts. And they used to come down south during the summer when school was out. And I've noticed there was a different type of mentality that they had. It's kind of like it was like an illusion. But being that I was so young, I was like a teenager at the time. I didn't really understand where that was coming from, because at the time I'd never been to New York or Connecticut or any of these places until I got to be about. I think I went to New York the first time when I was 21. And you know what? One thing I learned about going to New York is there's a different mentality in New York City. Just up north, period. I've been to Boston, New York City, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. I've been to a lot of these places, but there's a different mentality versus growing up in the South. And the people up north, first, they seem to be first off, up north is very segregated. That's the first thing I saw when I went up north. It's very segregated. Everyone got their own little community, their own little area where they live. And what was interesting is white people never have to see anybody else. So in other words, white people never have to see a black person, or a Hispanic person, or Asian person, unless they go to Manhattan. Right? See, down south, for the most part, it's not really like that. Because you're going to see, a white person is going to see a black person or a Hispanic person when they go to the grocery store, when they go to school, when they go to work. But it's some towns up north, well, it's a lot of towns up north, it's all white. There's no black person that lives there in a lot of these towns. Now, there's some towns, small towns down south like that, but not very many. And because you have a lot of white people have these sundown towns where it's like it is what it is. When it gets dark, and if you're a non-white person, especially a black person, you gotta go inside. It's dangerous to be outside at night. It's unsafe because the cops is probably gonna harass you. And this is what happened to Trayvon Martin and a lot of other people that don't even make the news, because they live in these sundown towns. and or these neighborhoods where it's like 97% white, and black people can probably live there, but you're gonna have to be careful, and you probably won't be able to live in peace. See, that's the the up north mentality is very different. And a lot of black people that I've met from up north, they're some of the biggest ass kisses I ever met in my life. And they have a very different mentality versus most blacks that I know that live down south. See, most black people down south, we know most white folks are very racist. We see it the way it is. We don't sugarcoat anything. As a matter of fact, where I'm from, I know whites. I grew up around whites. But there's a certain line that you just don't cross, right? Now, if you go up north, they want to make it seem like it's like an illusion, like everybody gets along, we're all friends. I got black friends and all this crap, and they want to, party together, lay up with each other, and act like we love each other. And a lot of it's a bunch of bullshit. But that's the up north mentality. Down south, we see it the way it is. It is what it is. Hey, I know you, you know me. You might be a white guy or a white woman, but you're black, I'm black, you're white, you got a problem with me. I might not have a problem with you, but it's all good. We can still do this job. We can still exchange information, but there's a certain line we don't cross. That's the down south mentality. Up north, they, as a matter of fact, a lot of people from up north, that live up north, came from down south in the 60s and 70s and 80s, because the idea was to leave the farm and go up north because they had better opportunities and better jobs. And a lot of black people, a lot of people in general, just wanted to leave the farm, and they wanted to work corporate jobs and government jobs. However, when they got to these cities like Chicago, New York City, DC, Boston, and a lot of other cities in between, they realized that everything wasn't what they made it out to be. So they were bamboozled, and they wasn't getting paid squat. Got paid crumbs, pennies on the dollar, basically. So a lot of people that I know personally, my uncles and my aunts and my cousins, this is why they came up with they started renting the basement out. They started having 2-3 levels in the homes. And that came about because they couldn't afford rent at the time, because they wasn't getting paid enough money. So if if you might have a couple that was married or had kids early, and that's what they would do. They would rent out they would turn the basement. They bought a house probably 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and eventually they turned the bottom of the house into like a duplex that's downstairs, and they rent that out. So they had that extra money that they could use towards whatever they wanted to. So that's how the basement living came about. So, it was a lot of that going on. But, there's that mentality still exists today. A lot of people from up north seem like people are slow down south. But I tell you what, I think it goes back even further. I think it goes back to the Civil War. Because back in the day, up north had more power than the South. See, the South had weapons, guns, but up north they had power to control laws and legislation and public policy. So this is why a lot of white folks especially usually get upset or usually don't like a person that's from up north. They'll say, oh, he's an old Yankee or whatever. So that's where that mentality comes from on the other side when it comes to the white folks, you know. But when it comes to the black folks or any other people, non-white people, they usually follow suit because they always look at what white folks are doing, and they usually try to adopt to that mentality because let's just be honest, a lot of these people are followers and they're trying to keep up with white folks. But back in the day when I used to run into this, I didn't really know how to respond to a lot of these subtle comments that a lot of people used to make. But today, as an adult, I know what to say to get people off me. I know how to handle the situation today. And that comes with experience. And that comes with practice as well. And that comes from traveling. Because if you travel and you go to a lot of these major cities, there's only like 13 or 14 of them in the United States. It's not what they make it out to be. And everywhere I've been, the same shit is going on. The same shit is going on, but they just go about it in a different way. So the people that's living up north or living in any major city, they most of them aren't doing any better than you're doing. Most of these people are struggling just to make a living in these huge cities. They're just getting by. You're probably in a better position than they are living down south, because down south, for the most part, the cost of living is much less compared to living in a place like New York City. If you compare New York City to some place like Charlotte, North Carolina, I mean, there's no comparison. New York City is ridiculous when it comes to prices and the cost of living. I mean, for example, if you make $60,000, $70,000 a year, $80,000 a year, and you live in New York City, you're struggling. But if you're making that money in Charlotte, North Carolina, you'll be okay. You're good to go. You'll be okay. You can do some shit, make some shit happen, especially if you're a single man or a single woman. But if you're in New York City, you're struggling. So there's a different mentality between the Southerners and the Northerners. But in the end, people from the South, for the most part, they face reality. They look at how shit is. They don't sugarcoat anything. They know most white folks are racist. And they stand on it. And they don't, try to sugarcoat it. Because, like an old dude told me years ago, that life is a game with real consequences. But up north, they'll come down here to a place like Atlanta or Charlotte, and they try to act. Most of them try to act or behave in such a way that's not really them. It's not really productive. A lot of them think they're better than you because they're from up north. But in reality, you're about the same. Really. In most cases, you're doing better than they are. But somehow, if you're in a big city, somehow they feel like they smarter than you or look better than you or in a better position than you. But in most of these big towns, it's an illusion. If you're not making, if you live in a town like New York City, if you're not making at least 200,000 net, I'm talking like 200,000 after taxes, it's not even worth living there. I don't think it's worth it. So in the end, I'm happy that I was born and raised down south. And a lot of things they put up with up north, I will never put up with that shit. All the butt kissing, all the, partying and getting high, and they do that everywhere, but some places like New York City, they take a little too far, in my opinion. But overall, I'm happy that I was born and raised down south. I came from a loving family, and I wouldn't change anything about it. So the next time you meet somebody from up north and you're from down south, just remember that 9 times out of 10, you're in a better position than they are. And everything they talk about, there's a good chance that they ain't even like that. They just talking. That's it. And anyone that talks a lot, I've met over the years, it's damn near impossible for them to back up everything that they speak about. So if you like what you heard, subscribe to my channel, check out my blog, trueyourrelationships.com, and join the movement. And the link's going to be at the bottom. So until next time, Sharp Game is out.